Who's hearing? Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna start and go live on Facebook. So, hey everybody, my name is Ari. Like I mentioned, I'm working at the Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development. Just starting patient care. This is brand new. It's a chance for us to get together and share inspiration, share wisdom, and take that wisdom back to our communities and our religious groups, and think about how we can really mobilize change and help to address some of the biggest issues of our time in a really inspiring and faith-grounded way. And so what we're going to do to start is just go around, and I have 3 questions for everyone that everyone can share their name and a bit about yourself, why you're here. And today we're talking about how can we live in a healthy balance with nature. So whatever that means for you, then I'd love to hear it. Hey, Harry, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So let's go around. Does anyone feel called to start us off? I'll volunteer you all. I can go first. Just set the tone. My name is Ari, and I'm originally from Florida, and now I'm living in Jerusalem, Israel, with my wife. And I'm here to connect with other people who want to help make the world a better place, and to do it with connection to God and connection to nature. So I'm in terms of how we can live in a healthy balance with nature. I think just being in nature is such an important start. I'm really excited to go with the founder of our organization tomorrow, Rabbi Yonatan Nerel, on a hike in the Jerusalem forest. And I feel like that's the most inspiring thing for me, just to be in nature and seeing it. And I remember growing up and seeing a lot of trees being cut down to build buildings and parking lots, and I was like so sad. And I really did not appreciate my Judaism growing up. But the one thing I appreciated was we had this one day called Tu B'Shvat where we plant trees, and I said, wow, like they're like everyone's cutting down trees, and we have this religious ritual to plant a tree. What a beautiful thing. So that was really inspiring for me. And as I grew older, I found this a lot more than just planting a tree, although that's a good start. And welcome, Rabbi Yonatan Nerel. So good to see you. And we're just going around and sharing based on these 4 questions. So I just started us off, and then I'm gonna pass it on to Lisa.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I studied environmental management a long time ago when it was just beginning. And I've seen over the years how there were always a lot of problems when it was becoming political. So I was very excited to see an organization that brings everyone together, seeing as the majority of the world believe in God in some way or other and creation, then I saw it as combining and bringing harmony to everybody if we can take the politics out of the environment. So I'm very excited with in meeting this organisation. I grew up in beautiful nature in Wales. So in Wales there's 3 million people and 11 million sheep. So it's mostly nature and it's absolutely beautiful. So I don't know if that affected me, but my favorite topic was always geography, and bringing, geography was always talking about physical geography, which I love, but you always see the effect of the people on both ways. So that brought me together into the environment, how humans affect the environment. And sadly, I see a lot of children growing up as a teacher in with no nature and no connection. So I love Jenny's books, and I also try and do that by teaching environment and nature. And very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm sorry, I was like looking at the site a little distracted because I set it up on Facebook Live, and then I realized I was sharing like the wrong screen, so that like threw me off. Sorry about that. And I appreciate you all joining me for all the, we're just getting started. I hope we'll keep gaining momentum and part of being at the beginning is running to airs and keeping moving. So with that, I'll pass it over to Liz.
Oh, hi everybody. I'm from Colorado Springs. My family's originally from the Netherlands. We're immigrants. In 2015, Pope Francis released his encyclical, the Laudato Si, which is addressed to all peoples on the earth, not just Catholics. And I read it and I was wowed away. And then I taught it. And then I established this Facebook group, Laudato Si, by name. And it just started with a few people. And now we have over 800 people from around the planet, organizations, parishes, religious orders, et cetera, et cetera. I attended the Catholic Climate Conference out of Creighton University over the summer, and sadly, because of the politics of the United States, many religious communities are not interested in environmentalism and care for people, poor, marginalized, the indigenous, et cetera, because of the politics. And so what we started looking at is redefining the movement under the words creation care for creation and God's plan or God's planet, just to try to divide the politics and look at our roots from the Old Testament, the New Testament, and like-minded people of faith. And little by little, I kept seeing Eco Bible in all these different places that I was going to do research. And so, of course, I made it my goal to read the Eco Bible, the 2 volumes already out this year, and tell my group about that. And I'm now teaching the Laudato Si at my parish, and wonder of wonders, we are now going to have a creation care team, and we have established a website, a web page at our parish website. So things are finally happening. I also worked with Kevin Bales. He is an author and works with the topic of human trafficking. And he wrote an amazing book. I wish you will all read it. It's called Blood and Earth, Modern Slavery, Ecocide, and the Secret to Saving the World. I worked directly with him to put on a little presentation for my community, and he has connected slavery with environmental destructionism, and really believes that the link to saving the world is to take care of both of these things. And coincidentally, his book was published the same year as the Laudato Si. So I see many wonderful things coming together at the same time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Liz. And really grateful for all your work and that you're here with us. And we'll pass it to Rabbi Yotan Erel, author of Eco Bible. Really honored that you're here as well.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to see all of you. And I'm actually only going to be able to join for part of the time. And as I direct the Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development, and it's good to meet you, Liz and Jenny. I'm familiar with your group, Liz, on Facebook, and Jenny, I'm good to meet you, and just saw your website and the book that you've written. So yeah, just trying to get the word out. And had an interesting conversation with someone from the Ignatian Solidarity Network, which is a Jesuit Catholic organization in the United States, about further collaboration. So there's a lot of good work to be done that we're all involved in.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Jenny, would you like to share?
Lovely, thank you. Thank you again to Lisa for actually inviting me along. She just literally sent me a link today saying, "Are you free? Do you want to come along?" And I just thought, okay, I'm free. I'm all for meeting people and networking and joining groups. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. For me, I feel we're all in the same team. We're all flying the same flag when it comes to conservation and nature. My mission at Tales from Mother Earth is all about connecting children with nature. And as Liz and Lisa mentioned, that there is a big disconnect at the moment in our society with children and nature. And I'm trying to be part of the process that can build that and put that back together again. I'm based in Ashford in Kent in the UK. I've brought together a composer and also an illustrator. And I got carried away, really. It was a case of I needed to do something to help. It was almost like a calling to me. It really was. When Sir David Attenborough said the Garden of Eden was no more, and at the same time, back in 2019, fires were burning and raging throughout the world, out of control, I just felt that I needed to do something. I'm a mum, first and foremost, as well, to 2 young boys. And when you're a parent, you obviously have to think about the next generation and how they're going to live and how they're going to survive and what their future is going to be like. And I've always loved nature massively and always been a conservationist at heart. And when I heard those words and when I was looking around at what was happening, I just had to do something. And so my whole mission, really, of what I've put together with the team is connecting children with nature through storytelling. And storytelling is as old as time. And that's what we do. And I got carried away because I wrote 8 stories and we've managed to publish the first 2. We've got Bandit the Blue Tit coming out later this year, which teaches children the importance of putting up a nest box, for instance, in their garden. And so our books really cover off climate change, loss of habitat, and the issue of plastic in our society. And I see God hand in hand with nature. I mean, I always have done, I always will do. There's something that's almighty that drives nature. And I know we talk about Mother Earth, but really Mother Earth is God, really, in my opinion, because it makes everything turn and go and change the seasons, and it's just amazing. And children need to connect more with nature to get those benefits, not necessarily the spiritual, but I mean that's there too, clearly, but also the creativeness and the confidence and the empathy and the understanding, the connectiveness. I mean, I've looked into this in some great detail and I've spoken to some amazing people around the world. And the benefits we get from connecting with nature when we're adults are off the scale. But for children, it's so outweighs the benefits for adults. And if we can be part of that process to connect children with nature, then my soul is happy. And that's what I do. And that's why I get up every day to try and make that difference. So I hope that's answered some of those questions. I think I went down a few rabbit holes then, but I do apologise. You've got me on my favourite subject because I'm so passionate and committed to our mission. So it's lovely to meet you all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'm also excited to check out your books. They look amazing.
Thank you. They're there for ages of 3 to 10, and there's lots of stimulus in them to keep them active and learning in a positive way as their development grows. So we'd like it to be a book that's on their shelf from when they're a 3-year-old to when they're a 10-year-old, and they can dip in and learn more as they develop.
That's wonderful. And what I'm going to do is, you all have been sharing resources in the chat, and I'm God willing going to put it in the next email I send out. I'll share these resources also, so we'll have access. And Jenny, if you want to share also some about your work, you can share it on our ICSD page, on our Facebook page. It'd be great. We'd love to connect you with them.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be lovely. Just send me the link, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Harry, great to see you. Would you like to share?
Yeah, my name is Harry. I'm a student at OU, the Oklahoma University. I was born in Oklahoma, go to school here, but last semester I actually got a chance to study abroad in Jerusalem, and I got the pleasure of working with Aryeh and Rabbi Yonatan and Lisa at the ICSD. I'm still there now. I'm writing blogs, and I think with the question here, I'm living in a healthy balance. I think a part of that is just the connection with nature, like we've been talking about, and not necessarily what we do. Of course, that is very important, but how we see it and seeing ourselves as a part of nature, both spiritually and in the everyday life, and sort of incorporating that connection into what we do and our practices, and living just more sustainable, environmentally friendly everyday lives, not necessarily out of a obligation, but just spiritual connection, or any connection really.
Beautiful. Thank you, Harry. And I think let's dive into the text and basically we'll read a bit from Eco Bible, and we can do it paragraph by paragraph. And anything jumps out at you, then feel free to jump in. And really, this should be oh, you got your physical book. Amazing.
This is exciting.
This is amazing. But it should be like a launching point off. So it's like, we don't, I don't think we're gonna get the material. It's just gonna be like, this is just to help us have something to kind of spark discussion. So I'm sharing, this is from volume 1. And this is in the Jewish like weekly Torah reading. This is where we are right now. So I was thinking we can talk about grace and sustainability, and it goes in different directions. So just someone want to start us off? Just to read it.
I can.
Amazing, please.
All right. Exodus 33:3. A land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go in your midst, since you are a stiff-necked people, lest I destroy you on the way. The Torah often describes the land of Israel as a land flowing with milk and honey. The Talmud interprets this to mean milk flows from the goats and honey flows from the dates and the figs. From this, one can understand the significance of goats and shepherding to ancient Israel's society.
Okay,
Some herders.
Just to pause
Yeah.
there. Are people familiar with this concept that when it says milk and honey, usually we would think like cow milk and bee honey, but this is how the Talmud interprets it, and also like the archaeologists, I want to say, also have the same theory that the honey that they're talking about here is from dates and figs. It's like a way of preserving it. Much more than they had bees in Israel, they had a lot of dates and figs. And more than they had cows, they had a lot of goats. So are people familiar with this? Is this something new? Is interesting?
That's surprising, yeah.
So with that in mind, okay, so that's like dates and honey, and then what else? If you want to, Liz, if you want to keep reading, what else is? Let's see what else is happening with goats in the land of Israel.
I see in advance some words that I might have trouble pronouncing. Some herders would take their flocks to graze for 6 months at a time between Passover and the beginning of winter, while others would keep their flocks in pasture year-round. Professor Gedaliah Alon, in his noted history of Mishnaic and Talmudic times, writes that some herders raised flocks of sheep and goats in great numbers. Yet, goats and sheep are voracious herbivores, and the rabbis in the times of the Mishnah and Talmud witnessed how these animals could devour field crops.
Great. So we have two things we have going on. We have goats that are going around herding, and then on the other hand, they're which is great. On the other hand, they're also eating a lot of field crops. That's going to be a source of tension. You have farmers who want to grow their plants, and then you have herders who want to herd their sheep. And there's the famous story of Moses, who's taking his goats, his flock far away. And there's a rabbinic interpretation that why is he taking them far away? Because he doesn't want them to graze on other people's land. So this is a classic tension in the ancient world between the herders and the farmers. So this is,
This-
so, go
Yeah,
ahead.
this reminds me of the fights over the decades between the ranchers and the farmers here in the Colorado Rockies and the Midwest.
Oh, what's been going on?
Well, the screen play in Oklahoma was a famous example of the fight between the two groups because of what you've said. So the cow herders destroy the land as they go. And I believe that is also one of the considerations in the Sahara Desert. They're saying the grazing of cows, especially European cows, destroyed much of the land, and that therefore we have a larger desert in the Sahara.
It's really
It's
interesting.
also interesting to note that the animals in the Bible were always the goats and sheep, and cows, which are now a very big problem for climate and everything, for deforestation, for climate change, for basically every problem, weren't even mentioned much. Um, Maybe we created the problems by using or by going with the wrong animals.
Hmm.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Does anyone else want to add anything? Should we keep moving? Yeah, let's keep moving. Okay, so what's the now we're gonna get the response of the rabbi sign of the Mishnah, and this is gonna be the years like this is like the years like 100 to like 300 Common Era. Does someone else wanna read?
What am I reading?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. In response, the Mishnah prohibited raising goats and sheep in agriculturally productive parts of Israel. This enactment was likewise adopted by the rabbis in Babylonia for the Jewish community there, which in the times of the Talmud replaced Israel as the most sizable Jewish community in the world. Further, the Talmud prohibited freely grazing oxen and cows as well. Now it's got me. From the patriarchs and the tribes of Israel to Moses and King David, the Bible is replete with a rich history of shepherding and livestock. Oh, what happened now?
Oh, sorry, just skipped ahead. Livestock raising.
Where do we go?
To
Carry
top.
on?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, the Mishnah decree addressed the need to stop goats from harming farmers' crops by preventing Jews from raising them in settled parts of Israel. If the rabbis were prepared to contravene thousands of years of biblical tradition by forbidding herding, this should serve as a lesson to a contemporary humankind about the need to limit the raising of livestock in massive numbers when we are aware of the environmental damage that this causes. As Yale's Global Forest Atlas notes, cattle ranching is the largest driver of deforestation in every Amazon country, accounting for 80% of current deforestation rates. Amazon, Brazil, is home to approximately 200 million herd of cattle and is the largest exporter in the world, supplying about 1/4 of the global market. Approximately 280,000 square miles of deforested Amazon in Brazil are now in cattle pasture. Wow.
Well, this is exactly what you were saying, Lisa, about the how much damage growing cattle is causing, and I think it's particularly in the way that it's being done is really harmful. And I think the point that's being connected here is saying that is that we have these traditions. We have in the Bible you have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, King David. All these people were all raised what are they? I think probably goats and sheep. They were all herders basically. And now, like 1,000 years later, where the rabbis made a decree, you can't raise these animals. So it's like how you have this huge tradition. It's so much part of our tradition, and now we're saying you can't do it because the way it's being done right now, it's causing more harm than good. I think maybe one point that's being raised is similar with cattle raising. We have this such a strong tradition of raising all this cattle, but we're realizing it's actually maybe causing more harm than good. So how maybe like just like in the like going from the Bible the mission and the a process of 1,000 years and changing tradition. Maybe same thing. We need to reanalyze our practices around cattle, even though it seems so set in stone.
I was going to add that in Blood and Earth by Kevin Bales, he talks quite a bit about the Amazon. Not only are we cutting down the forests to graze animals, but then the land will not sustain a future forest. And we're also cutting down trees simply to make charcoal. We're burning them down to make charcoal. And by the way, the people that are doing that work are treated as slaves.
It's really terrible.
I
And
think
everything's connected. Sorry, Jenny.
everything is very much connected. I think in terms of the Amazon, we need to listen to the indigenous people because they've been looking after their areas of the Amazon for such a long time and they're in harmony with it. We're clearly not in harmony with it. We're completely out of touch with its needs and and how to protect it. And the sooner we can get some protection happening with the Amazon, the better, because I mean, obviously the West world are very familiar that obviously the Amazon is our lungs and the lungs of the world, and it needs protection. It needs protection from all of us. And I was reading an article about the indigenous people, and they were saying that, you know, they're fearful, obviously, because the truckers haven't reached their bit yet, you know, that the foresters haven't quite reached their area, but they'll probably be on their way. And how can you stop that? How can you stop the bulldozers coming in and that kind of greed, really, in a way, moving into a land that you've cherished and is your homeland for such a long time? I mean, if you think about it over history, it's played out, isn't it? Over history, time and time again. So I just hope that there's some protection there for the indigenous people of the Amazon, because we can learn so much from them. And there's so much that they know that can benefit us in medicine and all the other things, because I think isn't it 80% of our medicine or something comes from the Amazon?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there's still so much that's probably never been investigated and looked at. And so, you know, we're just completely and utterly suffocating and damaging our own future in so many ways. And I just hope that somewhere along the line, the powers that be can come together, if it does have to be governments or if it can be the people power, and actually, you know, put a hold on this, because it's crazy.
I agree 100%. And I think what you're saying is very wise, that, you know, who's the best people to look towards, you know, for guidance and for you know, empowering with this is the indigenous people who've lived in this land and who are the most affected by these actions. I guess we have like less than a minute. So Harry, do you want to add anything before we close down?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about with the action towards the deforestation at Glasgow. I read about them talking about this, actually, how they want Brazil signed on to stop deforestation under the conditions that the more developed Western world will fund it. So I think hopefully, if things go right, we will see some, you know, cooperation from everyone involved towards potentially ending this deforestation. The best case scenario. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully.
Well, that's so nice to hear some hope there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of it, but, you know,
Yeah.
there's a little.
You gotta keep it. You gotta keep to the hope.
Yeah.
If I can, I'd like to mention an organisation called ARC 2030, who have a real amazing plan, traction and status and pedigree, I think, really, in that their whole idea is they've got a plan in place to restore, protect and educate us all regarding planet Earth. And if you want to find out more information, then I urge you to go to arc2030.org. And check them out. And then if you wish to join them, there's a platform called arc2030.com. where they call them tribes, but they're groups, really, interest groups that everybody can join. And there's one on the Amazon, and there's one on the ocean, and there's one on education, and we look after and manage the one for archangels. So it's the 5 to 11-year-olds, really, that it's all education of children, and we post on that every day. But it's just, you were saying about having hope, Lisa, and that's the one that I'm clinging to at the moment, because they have a plan. They are working, and they are doing some amazing things, and it's getting bigger and bigger. It really is. And we actually wrote the anthem song for it, which is called "It Matters to Me," and myself and my
I love your song. I love it.
wrote it, which is amazing. But this song is traveling around the world now, and people are coming together on the 5th of June, which is World Environment Day, and they're all going to be singing it. And so if you've got choirs and schools, you want the lyric sheets or you want the instrumental files, then I'm more than happy to share those with everybody. And just, it's going to go around the world, and it's incredible to think that it started off in a shed in my friend's house, you know, when we were writing a song and putting it together. But out of all the organizations out there, I'm so delighted it's found its purpose, because it really can bring us all together, and we can make a plan, and we can keep hope, and I believe there's real traction there for real change, which I think is brilliant.
Thank you so much. So please send me that by email and after this, and I can share that with the group. And Liz, also, if you have any resources you want to share, if you want anything that we can share, use our ICSD Facebook page. We want to really work together, amplify each other's voices, and it's really exciting to have our this meeting together and get to know each other. And I personally found it very inspiring. And I hope you all join me next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your week, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I find your email, Ari?
Let me send it to you in the chat.
That would be magic.